Welcome back to everybody's favorite VrChat map making course on YouTube, Urail's Crash Course to VrChat map making. I'm your host, Urail. I'm just gonna pick up where I left off last a couple of weeks ago. If you aren't following that and you don't have an architecture like this, go ahead and watch that video first because you want to follow this step by step and you'll learn fucking everything you need to know just about. So. I'm just gonna go ahead and get right into it. We are making the Wing of Storms from my social event map, Wings of Fire. Um, Wing of Storms is an advanced like piece of architecture that basically once you're done building it, you can pretty much build just about anything you want to in VRChat. Uh, so I figured I'll build that, and we'll see what the hell happens. Um, I I'm just going to start with some Probuilder architecture, some advanced, a little bit of advanced stuff, nothing like too serious yet. Well, actually, this is just about as serious as it's going to get. It's still not terribly complicated, just something that's like difficult to master, easy to learn, but it just takes some practice to get used to and get fast at. So if I go too fast, you can always just go back, skip ahead, pause, go back, just do exactly what I do if that's your forte. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have my Probuilder window, which I have open up here. I'm gonna click new shape, and I'm just gonna make a regular cube. I'm gonna make it 1 by 1 by 1 real fast, maybe more like yeah, no, that one doesn't really matter. Like this, like, yeah, 0.75. So in Wing of Storms, this is a fire pit, conversation pit type thing. There's a nice fire burning right here. There's seats around the corner, and then there's a staircase right here. So we're just gonna go ahead and make those seats, and I will teach you how to do that real fast. So with your face selection up here, which I taught you how to use a couple weeks ago, just grab that edge, drag it out, and start extruding by holding shift right about there. Again, your chair doesn't have to look exactly like this, just as long as, it's something just similar to this, something that kind of comes out and you can sit on it. Now, in VRChat, especially, people don't really use chairs. They'll use VRChat stations, which is like an actual chair that you click on. But people in full body, typically, all that they do is they kind of just like float above the chair and they act like they are sitting on it. So usually what I do to just help those kinds of people out is I remove the mesh collider from the chair. This is like just something that, it's kind of up to you if you want to do it or not. If you want your chairs to have colliders in them, that's fine. I usually just take them off though. So Inspector, everything in Probuilder comes with a mesh collider, and you can just uncheck that if you so desire. I'm gonna uncheck it for this instance, but you do not have to. I'm gonna make another cube real fast, and I'm just going to basically just make a back vest for this, kind of just like a macabre, like uh, I don't know, like a makeshift type of chair. Here is what I made the first time around. So instead of like going into a 3D modeling software and actually making a chair, I just sort of made a makeshift thing in Probuilder, which is something that you can do for like a lot of things, honestly. Way more things than you might imagine. I'm still not quite satisfied with that. Hold on. Me just being a perfectionist. There we go, that's good. So just something like that. It kind of looks like a row of chairs now. And once we put texture on that, it'll be different. Now we're gonna make a fire pit. So again, basically just building a cube, grabbing a face. I'll make it about that thin. That's about how thick it is. Gonna make it about that long, short. It's just gonna be a nice rectangular fire pit sort of thing. I'm gonna go ahead and extrude, so holding shift, grabbing that face. holding shift and extruding once more to about right there, holding shift and extruding once more to about right there so that those two edges line up. I'm going to go ahead and grab this center face and actually I'm going to grab all three of these faces and I'm going to lift them up, so extruding them. Then I'm going to grab these two. I'm going to extrude them up a little bit as well. And you'll find out why in just a second, but so hold shift, extrude this side. And right till you're about there, just extrude. And just like that. Oh, not quite. Make sure that, you know, your stuff kind of lines up pretty good. Oh, damn it. There we go. That works. Actually, no, it doesn't. That's not thick enough. Damn it. These are the things that you really gotta pay a lot of attention to. Is making sure that, like, especially whenever you're connecting squares like this, that all of your edges, all of your sides, and all that stuff are like exactly, you know, or at least somewhat in line. I'm just gonna go ahead and be lazy right here, and I'll just make it look like that, and that looks just fine to me. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is raise all of these up now. Yeah, I'm actually gonna hold shift and extrude them upwards. And then I'm gonna go ahead and grab this one, drag it out. And grab this one and drag it up. Just like that. So you get something a little bit like that. A nice, pretty shape. Nice thing to just slap a fire into it, you know. Grab a fire prefab from the asset store, spend like $10 on it, and just throw it in there. You know, that's what I did. And then you can ERP by that fireside. And then you gotta make a staircase out of here. I'm not gonna teach you how to make a stair yet because the original Wing of Storm stairs is actually just like these little planks. These little like steps out of the fire pit. So you're just gonna have one right here on the floor, sort of. And then what you're gonna do is you're actually going to duplicate this cube. So you're gonna hold Control and then press D on your keyboard, and that's gonna duplicate. It's gonna make something exactly like it, and you can just move that up a little bit so that you don't have to jump to it. And Control D again, and just make yourself a little staircase. And Control D again. And you know, something like that will probably do. You may have to go back and readjust this. You know, obviously your scale is not going to be exactly the same as mine, and you know, this might be something that you can't really walk up in VrChat. It's just something that's kind of trial and error, is making stairs like that. But that's how I made those stairs. And whenever I teach you how to make stairs in just a second, sorry, you know, you can decide if you just want to make a real staircase there, and that'll be just fine. So now we're going to create an arch. So this is the first cube this is the first object that we've made that hasn't been a cube up until this point. What you're going to do is you're going to click the plus button on your new shape button in Probuilder, find your shape selector. You get all of these options on this little drop down menu here. You're just going to select arch. And you get your arch is probably going to look a little bit different than this. I can't remember what the exact, I think it might be 0.5, and then this is just 1. I think that's the exact arch that you should be working with now. I do not know. There's something similar to that. I'm actually just going to leave it exactly like that. It's really not that important, but something to keep in mind is this menu here that you get when you are creating objects in Probuilder, because you cannot get this menu back. So once you click build, that is like how the shape is for the rest of its days until you delete it or you throw it into the void or whatever. That this object is going to stay like that. So you can scale it up and down, and you can manipulate the faces with your face select up here once it is built. But you cannot modify its radius, you cannot modify its thickness, you cannot modify its depth, Cannot modify the number of sides it has. Can't modify its degrees either. Can't do any of that once all is said and done. So make absolutely sure that the cube that you have, or the arch that you have, or whatever shape you're working with that you have, is what you want. So that's just something to keep in mind, is that once you click build, there's no going back. So make sure you kind of have what you want. I'm going to just go ahead and stick with this original arch that they give me, because it really is just like kind of the sort of like it just fits this pool area that is in the Wing of Storms. So Wing of Storms has a nice pool sort of thing. Gonna go ahead and just make this a little bit taller. I think, I do not know if I showed this in the last tutorial, but in your VrChat examples folder down here that you got whenever you imported your VrChat SDK, you can go ahead and go click on VrChat examples in your assets, go to examples 2, and then there's a folder here called tutorial avatar, and you get this nice handy avatar here. So this avatar is 2 meters, or maybe like 1.8 meters tall, like 6 feet tall in the Imperial system, like 2 meters tall in metrics, I think. It's just like the size of a average human male, like how tall, you know, a normal avatar you could say would be. And it gives you the idea of the scale of things exactly. So up until this point, you know, I've done a good job in keeping things to a realistic and good-looking scale. But sometimes in Unity, it's not very easy to do that. You know, something can look very, very huge or very, very small, and it can be like the exact opposite of what it looked like. So you get this handy tutorial avatar here, and it just gives you the idea of the scale of things. So I'm actually going to lower this a little, just like a little bit, but it doesn't matter too much. I'm going to put this so that the left side there is in the left corner. I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to bring that left side to the left corner again, kind of like that. And then I'm going to grab face select, and I'm going to grab this face right here, so the edge of it. And this is kind of where manipulating faces gets a little cool. You can sort of mess with it like that. So that's how the pool in Wing of Storms is it's this nice, like, I want to say it's like a J shape or a candy cane shape, something similar to that. That's how it's shaped in my map. You don't really have to make it exactly like that. I just thought I would show you how you can sort of manipulate different shapes using face selection. So that is how the Wing of Storms pool arch looks. And then there's also little steps that lead up to it there. So again, I'm just going to Control D, grab this cube from those steps we made earlier, and put one on the floor here. I think it's only 2 or 3 steps. Make it go into the wall, why not? And yeah, perfect, just like that. And we'll put water in there later, obviously. Not now, that's for another day. So you have something a little bit like this now. You got the fire pit, you got the seating. Ignore that. Sorry, yours probably might look like that too. Don't worry about it too much. Just shh. If your friends see it and they think you're weird, just say shh. There's a method to Rails madness. So the next thing I'm going to teach you how to do is to make the window pane in the Wing of Storm. So it's this big, massive window pane with like I do not have any screenshots of it. I do not think. No, I deleted all of them yesterday. No, wait, no, I didn't. Here we go. Is this window pane right here? So got the nice supports in it. It's a nice glass material with a door right there. So we're going to be creating that right now. So this is where you really are going to be able to practice your cube extrusions and just kind of getting down the extrusion process in Probuilder and working with cubes more or less. So I'm just going to start with a 0.1. 1 meter tall, and then a 0.1 cube. I'm gonna bring it over to my 4th meter here. So these little lines on these cubes are really just meters. How wide, how tall, how whatever it may be in meters. I'm actually gonna go ahead and leave it a little bit above it. I'm gonna just build it. Doesn't matter too much right now since it's just a cube. I'm gonna grab its bottom with the face selection, and I'm gonna extrude it downwards. So I'm gonna hold shift, and then I'm going to extrude this all the way across the thing, all the way up until like right about there, so that there's space for the door there. All right, so I actually should not have done that. Oh wait, no, it does not matter actually. It is fine. Yeah, just leave yours like that. I'm going to bring this up to, there's no specific distance, so whenever you're extruding in Probuilder, there's no way to sort of measure how far you have extruded something. So you're it's kind of just like a shot in the dark most of the time whenever you are extruding and grabbing and manipulating faces. So just kind of, yours just doesn't have to look exactly like mine, like I was saying. There's just no way for me to measure how far extruded up this is. I'd say that, you got a line there, you got a line there, so that's a meter. That's 2 meters. So extruded up 2 meters, sure. You can also, of course, if I bring this all the way down and I hold Control on my keyboard and I extrude it up, it's going to extrude it up exactly 1 meter. So if you want laser precision like that, you can do that. That's what I'm probably going to just do here, is I'm just going to extrude it up 2 meters. And I'm going to hold shift and I'm going to create an extrusion that's about, that far, just like that tall, so that you get this sort of selection here. And I'm going to go ahead and grab it again, extrude it up 2 meters again. And I'm going to grab it again and create a small little divot just like I did there. And I messed that up. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, have that face. So whenever you are extruding upwards, make sure you are holding shift and control. And then just hold control once you have extruded 1 time already. There you go. So you should have that so you have this entire face, then you have this small divot, then you have this entire thing right here. So go ahead and grab your top again and just hold shift and bring it up just like that. And you can extrude up just to the top. Why not? All right. So, oh shit, did I mess that up again? Oh my goodness. Oh my god, I did. 1 second. My bad. Make sure you're creating small divot here, and then just go ahead and extrude back on up just like that. Yep. Beautimous. Okay. So go ahead and grab these 2 little divots that you created and just extrude them out to about right there, however far you think they should be going. And I'm just going to extrude these all the way out to right about there. I'm actually going to go ahead, drag them, and extrude them out, create some new faces there, and then just extrude up that one, then extrude down that one, so that we get something kind of like that. All right. So now just kind of try to make these, so you can work with this as a reference, kind of try to just make these squares sort of even. Actually, what I'm just going to go ahead and do is grab this, extrude it up, and extrude it right. There we go. So I can just stop that right there. And I'll bring these 2 back in so that I can have these and they're the exact same length. And now I can grab all 3 of these. And you can see they're a little bit jankily spaced out, but you know, that's okay. It's all part of the process. Yours might look better than mine. I had a student yesterday, her window did look better than mine, and I was a little upset about that. But you know, it is part of the process. You live and you learn, and you make these mistakes. This pain is a pain in the ass to make. So do not feel bad if yours may be a little bit jankier than mine. Mine's already pretty janky, but that is okay. So I have all of these. I'm going to create a little divot here. I'm going to grab the bottom of this one, extrude it down till I reach the pivot point. I'm actually going to go ahead and line these up so that they're exactly correct. Then I'm going to grab the bottom of this pivot point, extrude it down just like that. And again, I think somebody just broke into my apartment. That's pretty cool. I'm going to keep doing the tutorial anyways. And I'm going to grab it and extrude it back down. Okay. Perfect. So just like that. So now you can just go ahead and rinse and repeat that process. And hold shift and extrude. And make sure that these kind of look like they are lined up. They are kind of even. These two are pretty even. Hopefully we can make this one look pretty even. Nice. Dogs are barking and stuff. All right. Yeah. Gonna go ahead and extrude this a little bit, create a divot there. Drag this down, extruding again. Drag that down, extruding again. And drag that down, extruding again. So, not exactly even actually. I'm going to just go ahead and drag them out a little bit more. Again, there's just no way to precisely measure this unless you, again, do that incremental dragging. But otherwise, you know, you can work from your free hand and you're using your eyes. That will usually be just fine, like right there. So you can hardly tell that there's probably a small difference there, but it does not matter too much. Go ahead and drag that out one more time. And create a divot there. Perfect. Okay. Beautiful. And perfect. Okay. So you got something that looks a little bit like this. Maybe nothing like this, but something that looks in the idea of, oh, I can see where you got the inspiration for that for. Go ahead and grab your last one. Just bring it all the way across. This one you cannot bring all the way across because you actually have to create a doorway with this one. So extrude it out to about right there-ish. Drag it, grab it again, grab the top of it, and extrude it, grab its edge, and extrude it again. Then you can just grab the bottom and extrude it down. Now you have a doorway, connects nice and smooth to that. Shit. Shouldn't have done it that way. Hold on. There you go. You get something like that. You just want your doorway to be right there. Something I'll go over real quick is if you made a mistake and like your doorway is maybe too small or something like that, what you can do is you can just select all of your faces. So if you press delete right now, it's going to delete this entire mesh. So if I press delete on my keyboard, deletes that entire thing. So what you can do is you can press backspace while you have faces selected, and it deletes just those faces. So if you select all 4 edges of a cube, it will delete that sort of cube there. So that's a really, really handy thing. There's also a delete faces button there too. So yeah, I'm actually going to go ahead and make this just like a little bit. Hopefully that is wide enough for somebody to fit through. It probably will be fine. Yeah, that will be fine. Okay, and if it is not, I will just go ahead and delete these faces. It is all just for in the good manner of learning. Okay, so now, okay, I'm gonna have one last OCD thing, and then we can get back to the lesson. Okay, beautiful. Now, for the last few things for Probuilder, what you're gonna want to do is I'm going to create a stair here, and I'll show you the basics of stair creation in Probuilder, because it's probably the hardest thing to do in Probuilder, surprisingly. So the first thing you do is you click on new shape and you go into your shape selector again, you click stair. So you're not gonna have anything like this. I'm gonna go ahead and create what I think is the basic Probuilder stair real fast. You'll probably have, I think it is something like this. Maybe it's got like 4 steps to it. It is something like that. Does not matter too much. Okay, so the stairs in the Wing of Storms that we are creating is a nice spiral staircase that goes, it stretches from this end, it wraps around, and it goes up to about right here where it meets a platform that then leads all the way to this back wall, and there's a door right here. So it's this nice little modern sort of spiral floating staircase, and it's really, really beautiful and really cool. Making steps is probably my favorite thing to do in Probuilder, even though it's the most like frustrating. The first set of staircases I made in my event map took me about 2 hours, admittedly, because of a lot of errors and a lot of stuff that was just stupid of me. So do not make the same mistakes that I've done, and I'll teach you what those were and how to avoid them. So I'll go over all of these steps real fast, or all of these settings real fast. So you have your number of steps. This is probably the most important setting right here, because you do not want too few steps. You can get away with having too many steps. It might look a little janky, but you do not want too few steps. So what's important is that you can walk up the stairs. You do not want to have to jump up the stairs. You would have to jump up these stairs. You want to be able to walk up them. You would be able to walk up this. It looks a little janky, but you'd also be able to walk up that, and that looks pretty smooth and clean. And I've done that before. I've had to jump up my stairs before, and it was embarrassing for everybody, honestly. There's build sides, which if you unselect that, you do not get the sort of underneath there. Note that when you don't build sides, it doesn't render the underneath of your steps for whatever reason there. I do not know why it does that. But in this example, I will not be building the sides, because that is how the stairs in Wing of Storms are. If you want to build sides, that is all you. I'm not going to judge you for doing that. But I will leave my sides unselected. There is curvature, which is the number of degrees that a stair curves. So you can have this go all the way up to 360 degrees, where it's going to loop back around and meet itself at the tail end there. And if this was at 0 height, you'd have like a nice, you just have like a nice circle there. And if you had enough steps, it'd be basically a perfect circle. Otherwise, you're pretty much just like making geometry is interesting in Probuilder. But yeah, that's just the curvature, how far it stretches. There's the width, which is just like that. It is how wide your stairs will be. And then there's height. You can modify the width and height pretty easily with your scale tool. But obviously, if you can help it, just use your Probuilder settings. It's usually safer. It'll save you a lot of trouble just to have your stairs prepared the way that you want them to be. And your height as well, it's the same thing. Then there's inner radius, which is how far out they stretch if you have a curvature. If you don't have a curvature, you don't even have an inner radius thing. But in this example, I will teach you how to use a curvature. So in this example, I believe the curvature is 180 degrees. Go ahead and rotate your stair so that all right, I guess I get to teach you how to do this. If your stair looks something like this and it's sort of curving the wrong way, what you can do is you can just turn your Z value negative. So if it's 1, make it -1. And sometimes you have to rotate it on the Y 180 degrees. And it will mirror it just like that. I can actually have mine at 0. But so if yours is curving the wrong way, make its Z value negative of what it is. It's usually just -1. If you haven't messed around with it on your scale tool. And then flip its Y rotation 180 degrees. And that will usually solve. That's 99% of the time, just the whole problem. I'm gonna make these a little less wide. You can have wide stairs if you want. I'm gonna curve these in a little bit more. 176 short, 180, 176. And I'm gonna make them have more steps. I'm also gonna make them a little higher. Ensure that there is enough space between where your platform will be. So this is going to connect to a platform again. Ensure that you are not going to be scraping your head up against the ceiling. I think right there we will be fine. And so that means I am good to build these stairs. Just like that. Beautiful, beautiful spiral staircase. Now I'm just going to go ahead and build a ledge here. I'll make this 1. I'll make this 0.2. Doesn't matter too much. Go ahead and just make it so that those connect smoothly. All right, build. Just grab that face, make this about that wide. It doesn't have to be too wide, and then just grab it and drag it all the way out, just like that. Beautiful. And now what I'm going to teach you is about cylinders. Cylinders are probably the most aesthetically significant things that you can build in Probuilder because of what you can really make with them. You can make all sorts of different shapes with cylinders. You can make, I think, the minimum amount of sides you can have is 4. That makes a nice diamond. You can have 5 sides, and you have what is that in? My bad. You can actually only have an even number of sides, I think. Hold on. Let me test that real fast. Yeah, so you can only have an even number of sides, but you can make an octagon, a hexagon. And these shapes are significant because of the sort of really cool like interior design you can start doing with them once you really get good with them. You can like put them on the floor, have some nice floor panels, put them on the wall, put an emission material on the edges. You can do all sorts of cool things with cylinders, really. In this example, I'm just gonna be making a little guardrail out of them. So go ahead, and I'm just gonna leave my cylinder right there. These are the settings I'm using. They do not matter too much on a cylinder. The only thing that really matters is the number of sides. You generally just want less sides because less sides will bring you more optimization, and it will use less graphic power if you have less sides. So I'll just go with 8, 0.25, 1, 8 height segments, smooth. It does not matter too much. Because all this is going to be is I'm just going to drag it up. And I'm going to duplicate that, so Control D. I'm going to drag it out in increments of 2 meters. So holding Control while dragging it out. Control D, hold Control, drag it out 2 meters. Control D, hold Control, drag it out 2 meters. Control D, hold, drag it out 2 meters, just like that. So you can, and then I'm just going to create a cube. By now you should be pretty semi-solid at creating things in Probuilder. I'm just gonna use my scale tool because I don't feel like manipulating the shape tool, and I'll just go ahead and leave it like that. And you can make a nice little guardrail out of that. You can even I'll make mine a little bit taller. I just don't want to be sent flying off my stairs whenever I'm rushing to where would be Eye of the Storm, which is it's this big bedroom area. It's got like a 20-foot long bed on it. You know, you can do all sorts of holy things on there that Jesus would surely approve of. Definitely. So yeah, you now have this nice little guardrail thing here, something similar to it. Now is a good time to talk to you about batches. A batch is basically how many sort of things, objects, meshes, textures, lights that your CPU sends to your GPU in order to draw it. The more batches you have, the less optimized your world is going to be. So generally speaking, just shoot for less batches, and try to make it look good in the process. Generally, the better your world looks, probably the more batches you're going to have and the less optimized it's going to be. But I'm going to teach you a couple of ways on how to reduce batches. So you should have a main camera in your scene. All Unity scenes come with one. If you deleted it, I will show you how to make one. Just kidding, you're screwed. No, I'll show you how to make one. You just go up here and you click create, and you just create camera, and that'll do the same thing for you. But with your main camera, adjust it so that it can see everything that you have created. So something kind of like that. You have your camera preview down here, which is where you can, you can see everything that the camera sees. Once you can see your entire building, your entire architecture like that, go ahead and click game, this window right here. And I'm gonna pretend like this is off. You have a button up here on the top right that says stats. Once you're in game, click that. And then you get this whole menu here. The only thing you have to worry about is this little UI that says batches. So again, like I was saying, the less batches, the better. Right now, your scene should have, 40, 50. I have 54 batches in my scene. And that's like a green star. That's fucking amazing in optimization. But again, all we have here is a basic architecture with one light and, nothing really much else to it. I'll teach you how to reduce batches in Probuilder by merging your meshes together. So everything you create in Probuilder is one batch. So all of these cubes, that arch, this entire architecture is one batch. All of these cubes are one batch. I don't know what the hell I did there. That's a batch, that's a batch, that's a batch, that's a batch, that's a batch. Everything is a batch. And its material is a batch too. So everything's really two batches since this is all one material. So if you want to reduce batches in Probuilder, the best way to do that is just by merging your objects together. So all of these cylinders and this guardrail are a batch. So if I just go ahead and select all of them, and I do not know if I have explained how to select numerous things at a time. What you can do is you can just click on one thing, hold shift, click another. While holding shift, you just click whatever the hell you want and you select everything. Just like that. So when you have everything selected, go to your Probuilder window and you'll see a button that says merge objects right here. And when I click merge objects, it's going to rename it to like cube or cylinder, whatever it was that you merged. Really, it used to change it to like Probuilder merge object, but it doesn't do that anymore. It's kind of strange. And if I go to game, I had 54 batches. Ironically, I now have 55 batches. I do not know why that happened. You may have less batches, you may have more. 99.99% of the time, if I like went ahead and I just merged all of these together with Probuilder, I was at 55, now I'm at 34 batches, right? The thing about merging things is once you merge something, you cannot unmerge it. And that is 99.99% of the time not good. It is not what you want, unless you are absolutely sure that you are finished with your architecture. I highly recommend that you do not merge anything. Even when you are absolutely sure, I recommend you do not merge anything. If you're anything like me and you go and you like to change your mind about a lot of stuff, I really highly recommend that you try not to merge things. There's a lot of ways to save on batches, but so you can unmerge things by just holding Control Z and Control Zing up until your thing was merged, and it'll unmerge it for you. But if you say save your project and you leave the project, you can no longer undo that action. So those things are merged together forever. And the only thing you can manipulate on is its faces. So it is a dangerous thing. It's destructive. They call it destructive whenever something like that happens. It's destructive. So just be careful when you are merging. For something like this, it's small and you don't mind making it again if you decide to, if you mess it up or you decide you want to change it, just like this guardrail where there's, you know, 5 cylinders and a thing on here, and it really doesn't have to be more than one batch. Go ahead and merge that. You know, that's all good. If you do not mind making it again, go for it and merge it, and it'll optimize your world a little bit more. But so yeah, the less batches in your scene, the better. I'd say 0 to 100 batches, that's your green star for optimization. If we're talking about worlds for like avatar optimization, 0 to 100 is a green star in optimization. 100 to 200 is a like green dot optimization. Maybe like 100 to 150 is a green dot, which is like there's like excellent, there's good, and then there's the yellow, which is like all right. This is acceptable. I would say that's about 200 to 200. I would say that's like 150 to 200, maybe 225 batches in an area. 225 to 300, that's your orange thing. That's when things start to maybe get a little laggy once you have a lot of people in that area, especially if they're in badly optimized avatars. 300 to 400 batches is your red area. So, you know, that area is going to be pretty bad whenever you squeeze a lot of bad avatars into it. And even some good optimized avatars in there will probably cause it to lag if there's a lot of people in there, especially if you have a mirror going. There's a lot of lights in there. There's a lot of materials, a lot of textures, reflective surfaces, all that sort of stuff. And then anything above 500 batches is you probably need to just go ahead and try to think of something else, especially if you plan on having a lot of people in your maps. I highly recommend trying to keep things below 500 batches, you know, unless you're really dead set on creating something. And you know, anything above 500 batches is probably going to be really beautiful. I'm actually working on a map right now that, you know, I haven't optimized everything yet, so I haven't uploaded it. I haven't not uploaded it yet, but it has 9,000 batches in it. And so I open that up and my computer starts to sound a little bit like a jet engine. But it is a very beautiful map with a lot of particles and stuff that I really don't have any right to add into there. But I will be optimizing it soon, and it'll probably have something like 400, 500 in it. So yeah, there's your little talk on world optimization. Now we're gonna go over textures because well, actually there is one more thing. There is a sofa here, a little arch shape, like a U-shaped sofa. I'm just gonna create an arch for it. This is how I make a lot of my sofas in VrChat, because I make them arch shaped, U-shaped, just like that. You can modify this however it is. In Wing of Storms there is a mirror right here. But I'll go ahead and make that kind of like that. Yeah, looks good to me. Build that. And then to build the back of a sofa, usually what I do is I just duplicate the bottom of it, drag it out, and drag it up. Then you can just apply the finishing touches, you know, drag it out, or make it a little bit bigger on both axes. And you can make it even-ish, kind of like that. And make sure it's obviously connected. Something like that. That's something like how your sofa in Wing of Storms is. It's floating above, and that's actually for a good reason that I will get to in a later video. So yeah, you got something like that. Again, I'm gonna remove the colliders off of here because people will be sitting in it. I'm actually gonna, yeah, it's not quite big enough, is it? That is okay. I will go back and redo that, and you can again adjust that as you see fit. But congratulations, your Wing of Storms architecture, save for the cross right here, is complete. I'm not gonna have that cross on there for, you know, religious purposes or whatever. I'm gonna go ahead and just make the steps here that will lead. No. 90? Yeah, 90. That will lead in and out. You may not have to do that if you're if your interior and your exterior aren't that high, aren't that separate from each other, you might not have to create stairs, but I'll just go ahead and create some stairs right here, just in and out, just like that. Sure, beautiful. Okay, so yeah, your architecture's done now. Congratulations to you. You've probably made it through the hardest part of creating a VrChat world if you can make it this far. Everything else is fairly straightforward, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and import my textures. The first thing I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to right click anywhere in this space and I'm going to click create and I'm going to create a folder. This is for things that you will be creating. So your textures, your materials, things like that. I usually just rename it to my assets. And you put things in here that you find. Anything else is like your scenes, your VrChat examples, and all of your prefabs from the asset store, basically. I have here all of the textures that I used in the original Wing of Storms, and I have a download link for these in the description. I think it's a MediaFire download link. I just went ahead and upload this course textures folder. I'm gonna go ahead and put these on my desktop. I think I'll have to do that. Never mind. Sometimes whenever you try to move things directly from a folder into Unity, it's going to give you an error. I think that might only happen with WinRAR files. I do not know exactly. But if it gives you an error that says something like system cannot find the file specified, just go ahead and put your course textures onto your desktop and then drag them into Unity, into your assets folder, and that will be just fine. Now, if you have any experience making avatars or worlds, you're probably just gonna slap something onto there, and your entire mesh is going to turn into this sort of bricky thing. That's not what you want, because the Wing of Storms, there's a wood texture here, and this is slate, and this is fabric, and that's marble, and you know, all that stuff. So the way you can apply materials to different faces is literally just grabbing your faces that you want it on. So for example, in Wing of Storms, these faces use this texture, this wood texture. Oh, well, that didn't work. That's okay. But you drag these textures onto your mesh and it's going to create materials for you. It's actually going to create its own folder right here, materials. And now with these, you can start editing how you see fit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all my faces in my fire pit. And I'm going to take this slate material here. I'm just going to drag it onto there. And you notice it didn't change the entire mesh this time. It just changed the faces I had selected. So I'm going to do that with this too. This wall right here. Gonna grab all of the faces. Yeah, you might have some janky faces in there. That's okay. Grab all the faces, put it onto there. Beautiful. Grab this one too, and that one. Put that onto there. That one too. That on there. Cool. Cool. Put that on there. Put this on there. Put that on the steps. Why not? Looks fine. And you can even use your own textures if you so desire. And I'll show you where you get textures now. You just open up Google so that you can't see the horrible things that are on my browser right now. So if you go into Google, you can pretty much search like any sort of any texture that you want. So so what you do is you search seamless, and then you search whatever texture you are going for. So if I search for seamless, yeah, like seamless dirt texture, that's something I was searching for the other day. You search seamless dirt texture, you go to images, you find all of these sorts of different textures on Google Images. Some of them you have to purchase, some of them are going to have a watermark like this. Some of them might not actually be seamless, or something like that. Most of them will be free. You can just right click and you can save image, and you can drag it into your Unity scene and then drop it onto your mesh. And usually 99% of the time that'll be your whole struggle. But sometimes you do have to pay for them for some 4K textures that just look really, really, really fucking nice. And you don't want that watermark on there. Absolutely do not have a watermark on your textures, because your friends will make fun of you. Believe me, it has happened to me. I do not want it to happen to you. So you can search seamless dirt texture, seamless wood texture, and you get seamless wood textures, all like this nice laminate floors. You can get as specific as you want. Seamless white tile texture, and it'll bring up a bunch of seamless white tile textures. Seamless black marble texture, sure. Black marble, man, these are all really nice, actually. Damn. So yeah, whatever sort of material you are looking for, you can find it on Google Images, and you can 99% of the time just save image and throw it into there. And yeah, you can use your own textures for this course if you want to, but I have provided the ones that I am using in the description. All a texture is an image stretched over a mesh, and so it's made to look like it, basically. So yeah, this couch is using this fabric texture right here, so the dark gray fabric, and I created a material, so I can put that on there. That looks pretty good, if I do say so myself. I'll go ahead and put slate on there, sure. In the original Wing of Storms, that actually is a different texture, but I just never put it on there. And so now you got a little something like this, and it's starting to really look starting to look pretty nice. Now I want to talk about texture tiling. So if you select your material, and first of all, what you want to do is, if your shader is like Probuilder Standard View or Legacy Shaders Diffuse, go ahead and click Shader and just click Standard. It's not going to change how it looks, but make sure all of your materials are set to standard, and I'll go over that here probably next week, or the next 2 weeks with the next lesson, whenever we actually get to testing our world. But make sure all of your shaders are set to standard, basically. So you're going to get a bunch of settings here. Don't worry about any of these right now. Just worry about these two that I'm going to go over, tiling and offset. So whenever you tile something, it's basically telling Unity how many times to stretch that image over the mesh. So you can make it bigger and smaller, and it can really, really drastically affect how your architecture looks. So if I wanted my architecture to look more something like that, instead of how I looked earlier, that would be how you do that. You edit your material in here, just like that. Tiling, and then offset just moves it left and right. You 99% of the time on architecture, you don't really have to worry about offset. Just tile it. Fine, make it look nice and pretty. This already looks nice and pretty. That looks nice and pretty. Beautiful. That's a little strange, but arches just do that and you get over it. Fabric material already looks nice. Is there a... Oh, I thought that was a watermark for a second. I was like, no, wait, that's not a watermark. Go ahead and put your material, your gray fabric material on here, since that is a couch after all. Now, this is kind of where tiling textures can be a little... No, wait, never mind. Now for walls, you can go with whatever texture you want for these walls. You can go ahead and use that tile wall if you want to. Something I found that works is just creating your own material. So what you do is you just right click anywhere in your materials folder, go to create, and find material, which is right here. And literally like 99% of the time you can just leave it completely gray. I'm actually going to leave the floor as this slate texture right here. I'm actually gonna go ahead and there as well. Nice. Gonna leave the floor as the slate texture, but I'm going to grab all of these faces, and you can put materials on multiple different faces at the same time, by the way. And I'm just gonna put this gray material on there, and it doesn't look like much right now, but when we render the light map, which I'm going to go over here in just a second, I assure you it's actually going to look pretty damn nice. I found that white and gray, just plain by themselves, makes for some pretty nice looking walls. But again, if you want to go ahead and use your own texture, that is completely up to you. That's where your freedom gets put into play. So I'm gonna go ahead and create just a new material. I'm gonna make this one completely black, and I'll slap that on the stairs here, slap it on our pane here, slap it on to that, and I'll just leave it all like that for right now. It's not really all that important to me. And also, you know, make sure that when you're selecting faces, that you really select all of your architecture, in case somebody like flies around the building and they're like, oh, this just doesn't have a material on it, my immersion's ruined. That has happened to me before too as well, and believe me, that is not fun either. So go ahead and just put all that on there. You to miss. Again, your faces might not look exactly like mine, and you know, you might have a little something like this, and you know, you can just push it in a little bit and it'll be just fine. That's a lot of what Unity is. It's just saying, that'll be fine. Okay, so now we have, I'm actually gonna move this away a little bit. Back. Sofa's a little bit too large for this room, honestly. I do not know exactly how big that is. So I'll use my avatar here. Damn, that's a tiny couch. All right. Don't worry about me just worrying too much about the size of my sofa. Okay. As every man does. Okay. So, the final lesson in architecture that I actually forgot to go over, I'll go over that right now, it's really more of an aesthetic one. It's kind of your choice. This is something that I highly suggest, though, is adding in supports for your architecture. There's no consequence if you don't add supports. It's not like your sort of building is going to collapse in VrChat if you don't add supports in. But supports do a lot aesthetically for your buildings. So like if you can sort of go into a VrChat building and you can say, oh yeah, if this building were real, it would totally be holding up right now. You know, it just does a lot for the aesthetic in my opinion. So if you can like create pillars and just like supports that would offer some sort of structural integrity, that's really like the best advice that I can give you. That's the best advice I ever received from the creator of FPT Heaven himself, Varnion. When I was creating my social map, I asked him for advice, and he told me just add more pillars to it, and it'll look pretty good. So you know, things like this. Put that on both sides of the room. You want to. Something a little bit like that. That's how the original Wing of Storms is. There's a door right here. My dog is whining. Don't mind him. So yeah, something like that. And again, you know, if you don't want to create supports, if you do not want to go through that trouble, that is fine. It is just it's a really, really nice aesthetic choice to do so. And those actually use this this gray wood-based material here. So go ahead and put those on. Make sure my material is set to standard. Beautimous. Okay, so your textures, all of your things are finished there. Now we're going to go ahead and create a transparent material, because this is, again, a window pane. You don't want to be able to just walk right through it, but you want glass there. So I'll teach you how to create glass real fast. So right click, create material, and leave this all how it is, except change rendering mode from opaque up here to transparent. Click the color right here, and you'll get this wheel, this menu thing where you can change the color of your material. This A slider, just drag it down, and you can see down here how your material is going to look. Just drag it down. I usually have it at about, like, I don't know, 26, something like that. You really can't, you're not gonna be able to tell what it looks like until you actually put it on something, obviously. So I'm just gonna create a new cube, line it up with the pane, make sure it fits in there, make sure it's nice and a realistic window, that, and that. I'm gonna start with it on the floor here, or floating just above this thing here. I'm gonna drag it out to right out there, drag it to right out there. Good. I'm gonna drag it up without extruding, and I'm going to extrude right there. Actually gonna just make sure it's above your doorway. Extrude all the way to the top there, and grab this side and extrude that in there, right, like that. And now put your transparent material on, and now you have glass. So yeah, and to adjust the transparency of it, go to your white color here, and you can drag the A slider up, and that just affects how transparent or opaque it is. So there is your glass material, your transparent material. It's always really, really nice. You can change the metallic and the smoothness properties of it, and you can start making your windows look really, really damn nice. But I'm gonna go ahead and leave them as their defaults right now, and we'll get back to that somewhere near the end of this course, actually, when we get to reflection probes. But yeah, so you should have something like this now. Now I'm going to teach you about emissive materials and lighting. So lighting is the most important thing to learn about in Unity. That cannot be understated. Lighting is the most important thing in VrChat maps. It's the most important thing in your whole fucking life, basically. Right next to architecture and post-processing. No, post-processing and architecture are right next to lighting, because lighting is fucking king. Fight me on that. Learn how to light properly, and you'll learn how to make worlds in a very, very fucking amazing manner. You'll be able to create some amazing things. So learn lighting very, very much. That's what I'm going to do with you here. Every Unity scene by design gets a directional light with it. Delete that. Start off with that, and your scene's going to start looking a little bit like this. Don't worry, we're going to make it look beautiful here in just a second. Now, go ahead, and if you don't have your tutorial avatar in your scene already, you can drag him in. So you can use your tutorial avatar as an example of what your VrChat, of what avatars in VrChat are going to look like in your world. So it's actually really, really important, because sorry, if you leave your lighting settings as they are now and you have your directional light deleted, if you leave your settings exactly how they are now, this is how avatars are going to look. They're going to look pretty dim, pretty dark. A lot of stuff's going to look pretty dark. So what you're going to want to do is go into window up here, go to rendering, and then lighting settings. And you're probably going to get a little tab that appears right here. Let me actually close out of this tab real fast, and I'll show you. Lighting settings, yeah, something like this. Have that on hand. Just keep that on hand with you at all times. And so this is a just really, really important thing to have. Do not do as I've done, and you're making a new world, and someone comes in and they're like, why am I black? Basically. That's really embarrassing. So to prevent that, what you want to do is you want to change the environment lighting. So source, you want that to be color. The natural ambient color for bakery, or not bakery, Unity is this gray color. Turn it into more of a white, gray sort of thing. Just so that your avatar, like, you can tell how your avatar is actually supposed to look. So our friend here, he looks blue, he looks good. You want your friend here to look blue. Now we can start fiddling around with lighting settings, and then we can get into emissive materials right after I fix this right here. Right there. Beautiful. Okay. So emissive materials are materials that emit light on their own. Most of the lights in Wing of Storms are emissive materials. So I'll show you exactly what an emissive material does right now. So the first thing you want to do though is click on this button down here that says auto generate and uncheck that. Make sure it is off, because otherwise there's going to come a point in time when you're just rendering too much light at one time and Unity's like, hey man, and your entire computer shuts off. That happened to me one time. It was very scary. I thought I smelled smoke for a second. So leave auto generate off down here. Absolutely. Environmental reflections, leave that. I'll go over all of these settings. So sun source, none. That's just fine. Skybox material, default skybox. We'll get to that in a minute. Environment lighting source, color, ambient color. You can use BC for the hexadecimal down there if you want to. Up the intensity, you can play with that how you want to. I'm going to leave mine looking something like that. Environment reflection source, skybox resolution 120. That's fine. Compression auto, that's fine too. Intensity multiplier 1, bounces 1, that's fine. That's all good and fine. Real-time global illumination, leave that unchecked. Baked global illumination, leave that checked. Lighting mode, shadow mask, leave that just as it is. This is where things start to get a little complicated. Light mapper, progressive CPU, leave that how it is. Prioritize view, leave that checked. We will, and I'm going to stop there, and I'm actually going to go ahead and show you how to create an emissive material. Then we'll get back to the rest of these in just a minute. So go ahead and right click and create material. Create material. Go into your inspector. And albedo, so you have, or no, wait, sorry. Emission. Just check this box right here, and now you have an emissive material. The color is black by default, which means it doesn't emit any light. I'm going to go ahead and make mine white very quickly. And so now you have a material that will emit white light whenever you tell Unity to make it emit white light. So the first thing you want to do is go ahead and select all of the architecture in your hierarchy. So go ahead and click the first cube up here on the top, and you can either hold shift and select everything by hand. You know, you can do something like that, or you can just click the first thing, hold shift, go down, click the last thing just like that, and it selects that last thing, the first thing, and everything in between. And what you want to do is make sure that this box up here, it's not showing up in Streamlabs for some reason. There's a box up here that says static. Click that. Make sure that is selected. Probuilder used to automatically make all of your meshes static. It doesn't do that anymore for some reason. There's probably a setting for it somewhere in Probuilder that I just don't know about. But right now, I do not know. I will figure it out. You can probably figure it out for yourself. But right now, just make sure everything that you build is set to static, because otherwise it cannot receive lighting and it will not look good. I promise you that. So what I'm going to start by doing is going into Probuilder, creating a new shape. I'm going to create a cylinder, and it can just be, it doesn't have to be much bigger than that. I'm just going to put it in the floor right here next to this pillar, right up against the wall. I'm going to give it maybe 6 sides, sure, so it's a hexagon. I'm going to just build it, and I'm going to slap this emissive material that we created onto it, and I'm going to drag it into the floor a little bit. This is going to look like a little spotlight, and it's going to be pretty damn cool. And I'm just going to duplicate that. I'm going to put a bunch of these around. Kind of like that. Sure. And again, I'm pressing Control D to duplicate all of these. I want to have a couple of these around because these, again, are really going to be the only source of light in the scene. I'm going to teach you how to create light the good old-fashioned way, not using emissions. But in Wing of Storms, your main source of light is going to be these emissive materials. And plus, you know, emissive materials are so much fun. And these are probably my favorite part of doing any world in Unity. It's just making emissive materials, emissive strips and stuff like that. You can really go crazy with emissions. Well, not too crazy because they do affect your performance quite poorly. But, you know, as long as you don't go too crazy, stupid, overboard with them, should be just fine. There's some around the pool. I usually just like leave a bunch of emissive materials outside of the edges of the map, if you will, like that. You kind of just get a feel for it. Something like that, sure. Now, if you want to see what these are actually going to look like, get ready for the magic. There is a button. I do not actually know how this is going to work because I'm used to using Bakery, which is a very expensive asset that renders lighting better than Unity does. But bear with me. Go ahead down here in the bottom right and click Generate Lighting. And that's actually not going to do anything, is it? No, it is not. Okay, that is just fine. Your scene probably now looks something a little bit like this. Go ahead, make sure all of the cylinders you just put down, if you followed along with me, make sure they're set to static. Everything you build in Probuilder basically has to be static, unless you're fancy and you're animating things. You know. All right, so that doesn't look at all like how I thought it would. I'm gonna go ahead and up the intensity on this emissive material, which to do that, it basically just makes the light, it emits more intense. You go into your emission color and intensity, you can make it up to 10. 10 is literally going to blind you. I'm gonna set mine to 1.5 right now, and I'll try rendering the light map again. Again, I'm not very good at using Unity's default like lighting stuff, but I'll teach you how to use a couple of lighting settings. So you can see you get this nice glowing sort of thing, and you didn't even get that many, you didn't even gain that many batches from it. We got 59 batches now. Right, so nice emissive material created there, except for in this right here, and this is where I'm going to start going over the light settings. So direct samples and indirect samples, I really don't know exactly what those do. I turn bounces up to 4 in scenes like this where it's indoors and outdoors. It is very hard to explain what these do actually, but you know, you just need to know how they work. You don't really need to know why they work for things like lighting. Go ahead and turn your light map resolution up to, I will say 40, something like that right now. You just want to prevent things like this from happening, obviously, where it looks fucking strange. Light map size, you can shrink that up to 1024. Ambient occlusion, you can click that on. And I'll try generating that lighting. And that's going to take a second. This is where your computer is going to start sounding like a jet engine a little bit because of the way that Unity renders lighting on its own. Probably at the end of this video, I'm going to take a recording of an asset called Bakery. Bakery is this $55 asset. It's a GPU light mapper, I believe, or maybe it's a CPU light mapper. I don't really know. I can't remember exactly. You get an ETA down here too at the bottom right. Right now it's saying it's going to take me about 1 minute and 20 seconds to render this light map. But basically what it's doing right now is it's just like reworking all of the settings, denoising the scene. That's what this like static looking stuff on the walls is called. It's called noise. And it's obviously fixing stuff like this from happening. I really do not know quite yet how to fix that, but again, I'm gonna show a before and after picture of like before bakery and after bakery, because bakery is a fucking amazing asset. If you want to start getting good at making maps, basically, like if you really are serious about creating maps, I highly suggest that you go and ahead and do yourself a favor and download bakery. And we still have that pixel problem there. I will have that fixed by the next class period. I promise you that. I just need to figure out how regular Unity lighting works because I'm so used to bakery lighting. But I will have that fixed for you by next class period, which is in 2 weeks. But right now your scene should look something like this. You can see what emissive materials do. We're going to be using those a lot. I'm going to go ahead and go over real fast the different types of light and what they mean for you and what they do. There's obviously emissive materials, which are just materials that emit light like that. If you go into create, you click create and you get this drop down menu called, and then you get light. There's all the different types of lights. There's a directional light, which is like a sun sort of light. It's got a very far reach. It's very powerful. If you're using it, if you're making primarily indoor scenes, you usually will not be using one of those. You can see it literally lit up the whole scene right there. Every Unity scene starts with one of those. I go back to create light. A point light. A point light is basically just like a little circular area of light that emits light in real time. So these are really useful, probably the most useful ones, in fact. You can edit its range by clicking these little bounds on the outside of it and kind of dragging them in and out. And they also got their own little settings thing here in your inspector. There's range, which is that slider we were just fooling around with. There's color. You can change the color of the light. You can make it a nice blue or a sexy red, things like that. There's mode, which is real-time mixed and baked, which I'll get into probably in next class period. And then there's intensity, which is obviously how bright it is. You can even bring it down to 0 and it won't do anything at all. Shadow type, shadow, if it produces shadows or not. So our tutorial avatar there is creating shadows now. Usually don't use shadows because they're really bad for optimization. And then I really don't know what the rest of these settings do, if I'm being 100% honest with you. There is a spotlight, which just is pretty much just the exact same thing, just in a narrower area. So it creates a light like that right down there. You can edit its range too, edit its color, edit its intensity. It's pretty cool. And then there's an area light, which is just like a rectangle sort of light that you can put like above an area. And the thing about these is that they don't emit light in real time. You have to generate your light map in your lighting. So if I generate lighting on this, it's going to start generating the big area light right there. And you can, again, change the color and the intensity and the range on that too. You just have to do it before you generate your light map. So I'm going to go ahead, kind of force stop that. Yeah, I'll go ahead and force stop that so it doesn't slow my computer down anymore. And that is about it. So your scene should look something like this now. If you have any questions, go ahead and DM me. All of my links will be in the description, as well as the link to the Club Poseidon Discord, where I am teaching live classes every second Wednesday. Those classes are a ton of fun. We all hang out and we have a good time creating worlds together. You cannot join the Club Poseidon Discord server if you're under the age of 18. Sorry, it's how it is. Otherwise, you can DM me directly on Discord, and I'll be happy to, or leave a comment in the YouTube box, and I'll be happy to assist you with any questions that you might have. This was a long episode. This will probably be the longest episode of this entire thing because all of these are so important to learn. This is literally like the most important stuff for you to learn is lighting and textures and materials and what all that means for you. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this episode. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. If this was helpful, like it and comment on it and send me all the stuff that you create and all that fun stuff. And I will see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye.